Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, this is Best in Slot, and we are back building our Australian Planet Zoo. Well, zoo. Today we're going to work on the Cassowary Habitat. This was, again, a fairly long build, I'd say about 4 hours, something like that, with a lot of foliage work and a lot of rock work and a lot of landscaping work and stuff like that. Now, those of you who watched you can ignore this bit, so I'm going to talk over it basically. Those of you who watched my planning video for this know that the idea for the cassowary is to do something Jurassic Park inspired, if only a little bit, because cassowaries, I mean, technically they are dinosaurs, but they also look like dinosaurs, and the feet in particular are very dinosaur-esque, so we let that inspire us a little bit. The plan was originally for you to sort of drop down into this. I really liked the idea of having this like pit that was, all arid and dry outside of it, and then inside it was all, trees and like a little oasis. I didn't do that because it looks stupid, so we've undone that, and you're just going to walk down, and I'm going to build the pit upwards and like the valley around the area rather than having you go down, basically. It felt a little bit too unlike a zoo to be viable, essentially. It was a fun build, this. The foliage took a long time to come together. There's not that many options for Australian tropical, which is essentially what I used for 99% of it. But, yeah, it was cool. Now, apologies, I should have mentioned this right away. This video might be a little bit lower quality, just this bit, the time-lapse bit. Later on, it'll go up to 1080p Full HD again. For some reason, the time-lapse thing was just super not working for me. I could not process it for the life of me, so I had to knock down the quality just to get it done in time, essentially. I realised that little area there seems to have spawned out of nowhere. People do keep asking me how I do my landscaping stuff, and the flatten tool is a god. The flatten tool is the god of landscaping. Criminally underrated as a landscaping tool, but just use flatten to foundation and just go and sort of drag your mouse really quickly, and you'll make some really interesting, fairly natural looking shapes. You'll see me several times in this video also go back and sort my bloody koalas out because they are determined to escape. I kind of figured out what the problem was eventually, but my god. Decided I wanted a waterfall for this one. Also wanted it to, the water area to basically, like for the water to kind of, how do I describe it? So the water's at the edge of the ground rather than there being like quite a sharp edge, so I had to kind of like keep changing the depth of the land. Actually going to do 2 waterfalls, actually 3 waterfalls, just so there's a nice little bit of a backdrop. This isn't going to be the focus, but we are going to build some pretty cool Jurassic Park inspired things. I'd say there's 3 different things that kind of tie in with the idea and the build theme. We're going thematic today, to say the least. You'll notice we cut forward a little bit there. I changed at some point. You'll notice it's been developed a little bit more. I apologise for that. I changed over to windowed mode, borderless windows, so I could, tab onto my other tab and check out my Pinterest and stuff like that for inspiration. And when I changed over to borderless, it kind of changed my recording mode, and I didn't realise, so I lost like 20 minutes of work. But I basically just worked on the waterfalls, nothing particularly interesting, so not the end of the world. There's my koalas once again. They could just, I think it was they escaped somehow, or they got boxed up, and when they got re-delivered, they got sent to the bottom rather than on the sort of path. I think that's the problem. I'm not really sure, but they just would not stay in the bloody exhibit, I tell you. They are problem children. Anyways, so we've got the basic shape of the enclosure. The right-hand side is going to be brought in quite a lot. The left-hand side is going to be the big open area where the cassowaries are going to live and stuff like that. And all I'm trying to do here is figure out how we're going to build a Jurassic Park style fence. And really the best way, and really the only way I'd say to do it, is to use the actual in-game electrical barrier. Now, initially I didn't really want to do that, because one thing I wanted to do was have the fence feel like it has been broken open, like it, like the T-Rex paddock in Jurassic Park, where he drags the hands down and the wires kind of splinter off. I really wanted that. Unfortunately, that wiring we've got there on the electric fence simply doesn't exist in Planet Zoo outside of the electric fence. I couldn't build my own because nothing's really that thin, everything's quite thick. So unfortunately I just couldn't build my own version and then destroy it. But we'll do some little details to try and make it feel a little bit more Jurassic Park, like for example with the concrete base, just like it is in the film, buttery biscuit base there. And we'll do a few other things with lights and stuff like that as well. It's not really meant to be 100% Jurassic Park, it's just the vibe, the idea is inspired by a true story. which means I can base it on a real thing, but also kind of just take creative liberties, shall we say. Experimented with concrete bars there as well, and I wanted to thicken, again, inspired by Jurassic Park, I wanted to thicken up the pillars just so it felt a little sturdier in general. Like the whole thing felt a little bit tougher, a little bit sturdier, so every time we have a joint, we're going to bring in these, what are they called? I don't know, big metal bits. We're going to bring in the big metal bits, and we're going to use those to just make the whole thing a little thicker, a little sturdier, a little stronger looking. Like it's containing something spooky, like it's containing a predator. As it is, the cassowaries are much smaller than the fences, but that doesn't matter. It's all about the theme, you know. It's about the impression that we get from it. And this was inspired directly by the Jurassic Park fence. These lights on the front, I'm going to get rid of those and come up with a different idea. I really wanted the red lights on top, and these were honestly the best ones I could find. These are the aquatic lamp posts. They really are the best looking thing that most suits the Jurassic Park style lights. I think they look pretty cool. Now they're a little bit chunky, they're a little bit thick for the metal girder, so you can kind of see the lamppost on either side, but what I did was have the sticking out bits all on one side, so that way, hopefully, you can't really see it from this side, you can only see it from the other side, which is less important. That was the idea anyway. Got the little signs up there just to say, you know, this is where the cassowaries are going to be, so we need to light that up a little bit. Going to turn that down again in a little bit though. And what I really wanted, which I just cannot do, because we have strangely limited sign designing options in Planet Zoo. I just wanted a warning sign. So I kind of made one, and it says danger or whatever, but I don't know, it's just a block of metal. It doesn't look great, it's not right. I wanted like a white one with like a little exclamation point or something like that. Or even just a little white customizable sign, but they just don't exist. We have weirdly limited signs. Yeah, anyways. I'm going to change the colour of all those, which I only just realised at the end you could do, so in the daytime it looks a little bit odd, but eventually we'll have foliage everywhere and it'll kind of all blend together, and really that's what the next hour or so, I suppose it's not an hour in reality, probably an hour and a half in reality, but the next half of the video is going to be, is foliage. There's a lot of foliage and rock work and landscaping work, which is my favourite thing to do in the game. But this one, it took a long time. I was getting a little burned out by the end. It took a long bloody time. But what I wanted was, so you remember we talked about having like a nest? So what I wanted is to have you walk through like a very lush forest and very claustrophobic and crowded and foliage everywhere, kind of like Jurassic Park, you know, with ferns in particular. I really wanted to go heavy on the ferns. And then you walk through the gate, you know, the gates are open on the fence, and you walk through the fence with the red lights. And then eventually you come across a clearing, and there's waterfalls in the distance, and there's a nest with the cassowaries. And there's a little something else, which you haven't seen yet, but you'll see towards the end of the video, which I'm low-key very proud of. Just putting some trees around the outside, as I am wont to do. But really all we're going to do is stick down foliage. As per usual, trees around the outside, you don't need to be able to see them much, but they just give that little hint of depth, even if it's not actually there. It doesn't matter if the trees are in an unrealistic place, because you can't see the bottom of the trees. All you see is the tops. Just gives the illusion that the park goes on for a lot longer than it does. So much foliage. I went a little hard on the custard apples. I'm not totally thrilled with how it looks. This area doesn't super matter, but I did go a little bit over the top. My obsession with having strangler figs, that particular one, the sort of bendy one, having that wrap around something, be it rocks, or a building, or in this case a gate. I'm still obsessed with it, I will always be obsessed with it, it is my favourite thing to do in Planet Zoo. Strangler figs are the best. They may be my favourite tree in the game, honestly. Anyways, yeah, lots of ferns, a lot of sinking these down to the ground, because the ferns are cool, the tree ferns, but they look like little trees, and really I want a ground-born fir, which is fir, F-I-R, Jesus Christ. I really want one on the ground, because that's just kind of how I imagine it in Jurassic Park, essentially. But yeah, just, what I tend to do nowadays is pick like a limited amount of the foliage available, and then roll with those foliage items. Because I feel like if you pick every single piece of foliage available in a certain biome and habitat, you kind of end up just too much variety in a weird way, so I'm trying to limit it down just a little bit. A little bit of lighting work there, but nothing special. Moving on, and now we're going to try to build a nest. Now, I did some research on the cassowary nests, you know, what environment they would nest in, and if they actually built a nest. Generally speaking, no. It didn't build a nest, per se. The images I saw, it was all just like rough ground. It was just the floor of the rainforest, essentially, or floor of the forests over in Australia, in a way. So that's essentially what I'm going to do. I needed something, so I wanted some materials there, and I'm going to kind of prop up the exits a little bit and make it look a little bit more like a nest than maybe it would, but there you go, there's the right colour. They are like a weird greeny, slight hint of blue in there, but generally speaking a green colour, so something like that. It's nothing particularly magical there, but nice little nest. I'm going to work on that a little bit more as we go along. If in doubt, add water. I was a little... The problem is when you've got I hate, as you may have noticed, flat ground. And the short grass in this game is rubbish because it's just flat. It doesn't look like grass. It looks just like a flat green texture, right? The long grass is cool, but because we're in a Australian habitat, the grass in this is very dry looking. It's not very appropriate for the environment. So I had to use the short grass. So I had to basically make my own grass, which is why I used a lot of the custard apple tree. What's my point? Oh yeah, so but that's why for the nesting stuff like that, we had to use a bunch of different stuff to just try and give it that feeling that it's grassy and foliage and somewhere that the cassowary would realistically want to build its little nest. I don't know what I'm doing here. Oh, putting the Jeep in. Oh, is this my favourite bit? Has to be a Jeep. Every habitat which is a forest has a Jeep. It's become a little mini tradition, and it's always slightly tilting over like it's crashed. Is this it? Yes. So the three things are the lights and the fence and all that, the nest, and we're going to build a rough counterpart. It's not exact, but it's pretty good. A rough counterpart of the Raptor carrier thing in Jurassic Park. It's not the pen, it's not the hatchery, but it's the, you know, at the start of the film, when they're moving the big one, they've got her in like a containment case, and you know that's where she eats that guy, lifts him up, and all that malarkey at the very, very, very start of Jurassic Park. And I thought we'll build it. I thought that'd be pretty cool, and that's going to be actually a little sleeping area for the cassowaries. We're gonna, you know, the front of it's going to be slightly ajar, part of the roof's going to be on the floor, and I'm going to put some habitat bedding in there as well, so they will hopefully go into the Raptor carrier and sleep. I thought that was a pretty cool idea, and it very much suits what we're doing here. So I had an image up of the Jurassic Park Raptor thing, and I'm building a rough version of it. It's definitely not exact, but it's got a few of the key sort of features and design and stuff like that. I thought it was cool. I really like how it ends up looking. So the base is just concrete, and then a load of metal at the sides, basically. What am I looking for? Oh yeah, so there's like a coloured, like a yellow, no, white and red warning strips at the side, so using little tabs of metal for that. I couldn't really find a better way to do that. It looks pretty good. There's a ladder going up the side, because you can see them, they climb up to the top of it, and the door opens up, actually not from left to right like mine does, but it opens up from the top. Essentially they lift it up to let the Raptor in or out, so there needs to be a ladder to get on top of there as well, which I do. I do. You do. I do. Sorry, it's been a long day. But I'm not sure if I've done it yet. Maybe I missed it. Oh no, it's hard to tell. In this 720... Oh, we did do it. You can just see it there. That's the girders again, but I've recolored them so they sort of blend in a little bit better. That's about it for that, really. You know, there's nothing special about it, but I thought it looked cool. Just going to make this nest area sort of blend in with the whole area now, using a lot of the same materials, just kind of dashing them around everywhere just so it looks more like a natural ground. I can't have wide flat areas. It really upsets me. It really, really does. In retrospect, maybe I should have done some like little rivers or maybe some little hill areas here, but I did want it to feel like an open clearing in amongst this quite dense rainforest, so I didn't really want to mess around with elevation too much. Did grow a slight obsession with those there. That's the new thing from the aquatic pack. I think it's new from the aquatic pack. It's basically plant life on top of wood. And you meant to you meant to put it on top of buildings or maybe in plant pots and stuff like that. It is mainly designed for the roof though. But you can just sink it into the ground a little bit, and it's a really nice, natural looking foliage kind of thing. You can see there we've put a few bigger plants just around the nest, just so it's got like a rough outskirts to it, kind of what you imagine a nest would look like, while still trying to maintain what a cassowary nest would actually look like, at least in my experience anyway, which is, you know, Google. I have had to make a new Pinterest account, by the way. I haven't really used it for this zoo at all that much, except for the cassowary, like what coloured cassowary eggs are, but I cannot remember the login to my old Pinterest, and I've got a new computer, so it doesn't auto-login, so I will, once I end up actually using it, I'll link a new one in the description of these videos if you want to follow me and get inspiration for your own zoos, or just see the kind of things that inspire me for my zoos, stuff like that. It's always a good idea, even just to have an idea of what a natural habitat would look like. It makes it easier to put your own together, I suppose. Now, I used a lot of mossy rock here. Had to wait until a lot of the foliage was in, because the mossy rock on its own, with the colour that Australia gives, is a bit of a weird combination. I think once the foliage is in, it ends up looking okay. We're also going to use a desert rock as well. We're going to use 2 different rocks for this. The desert rock is meant to be more kind of like a part of the environment, I would say. It's just part of the rock, it's part of the terrain, and then the mossy rocks are rocks that I've gathered up nearby, and they're wetter, and they've gathered up the moss as well. Whether that necessarily makes sense, but we're going to use a lot of these desert rocks as well. I definitely went harder on the rocks than I usually do, but I will say it came together a lot better than it usually does as well. I think my practice on the aquatic park with the faux rocks has done a lot for how I use rocks. I think I'm a lot better with it now and like integrating it into a landscape than I used to be. I think it ends up looking really good, actually. Must be said. It took bloody ages, though. It took absolutely ages. This whole build took bloody ages. I want to do a chill one next. I realise we don't really have a viewing area. And that's because I avoid viewing areas and stuff like that. But in the aquatic park, we had buildings-ish. Yeah, we had buildings. We had underwater viewing areas and we had caves and stuff like that. So I'd like to integrate that a little bit more in the next build. I don't know what that's going to be. I'm not convinced by either the dingo or the kangaroo, so we'll have to see how I feel about that. But I do like the saltwater crocodile, but I'd like to save that for last because we've fairly recently done a saltwater crocodile, so I definitely need inspiration for the dingo and kangaroo if any of you have any ideas. Kind of rolling my brain about that one a little bit. I've got ideas, but I'm not sure how it would work out, and like I said, I want a viewing area and whatever. There's not much else to say, I'm just seeing rocks everywhere. I suddenly saw, oh look, I've put a rock down. Oh, I've put another one down. Who saw that coming? That's a cheeky little detail, isn't it? There's not much to say on it. I'm just sticking rocks everywhere. Stick it in, hope for the best. Move that slightly, just so it's a bit more visible. Move that slightly, for reasons unbeknownst to science. I'm sure I had my reasons at the time. Godly knows. I did this like 10 hours ago now. My memory doesn't go back that far, quite frankly. That's good though. It reminds me a little bit of my elephant habitat back in Ardaserund, just because it's the ground texture is so clustered and over the top, but it's smaller this time and there's less of it, so I think it feels less over the top. I hope so, anyway. Yeah, there you go. How are we doing? It's very exciting. Little entrance area, nothing special here. We're going to bring a cassowary in. I thought I'd give it actual cassowary colours. I don't know why the default doesn't, quite frankly. Putting some of the little display things there, and just to make the fence mildly more interesting to look at, I suppose. We'll do this at the other side as well. The cassowary itself, you can see at the bottom of that design, but you really only see the head. And the head is important, but so's the rest of it. This is the Cassowary Kingdom. I know it's not alliteration, but phonetically it's the same. Well, it's the same sort of sound, so that's enough. Close enough. Cassowary Kingdom. Plus Kingdom to me, prehistoric kingdom, you know, it has that slight prehistoric dinosaur kind of vibe to it. If anyone has any better ideas, preferably one beginning with a C, feel free to let me know, but Cassowary Kingdom's okay as far as I'm concerned. I was going to spell Cassowary with a K or Kingdom with a C, but I feel if you did Kingdom with a C, you'd read it as Singdom. Maybe Cassowary with a K, but that would upset me to my core, so we're just scrapping the alliteration. Bringing in some of the zoo stuff, never really go too hard on this, but you know, the information boards, we're going to have little, the speaker and stuff like that. We've got a do not feed the animals sign, which I think is fairly vital. This is a walkthrough habitat for the cassowary, which is nonsense that that's allowed, quite frankly. I cannot believe that's a thing in this game, but it is, so we're going to lean into it. But with a few warning signs. A couple of benches in there. We're going to add some of the cassowary artwork in there as well in a little bit. The idea is, excuse me, as much as I want to... Oh, I have hiccups. Begone, demon. As much as I do want to push the theming and the cassowary-ness, and here's me fixing my koalas, I still want it to feel at least a little bit like an actual zoo. Not too much, not, you know, much, because I don't care, but a little bit. Just I think having the little zoo details like the benches and info science and stuff like that, it helps. I think it makes it more interesting. Anyways, artwork, can get rid of that, bring in the rock one, lovely stuff. Just sit there and look at some artwork. I didn't really have any other ideas. I was going to do like another, kind of like we did for the Terrapin, where we had like a little info sign thing, but then I couldn't be bothered. So, we finish off with some lighting. As per usual, I'm going to stringently light this whole place. I really want the lighting to be a focus, just like it was in the last zoo. Trying not to light the immediate area around the gate, because the red lights need to, you know, shine on their own, basically. And just using these nice little, the aquatic lights, again, they're pretty great, it must be said, they're pretty cool. They kind of have that right kind of vibe. Bringing some of those in on the Raptor thing. Stuck with the orange for the walking areas, because it's got this kind of warm tone, which I really liked, but the rest of it we're going to light a little differently. We're going to use like cool blue kind of colours for the actual cassowary habitat, because I didn't want it to be orange, I didn't want it to be too warm and friendly. It's meant to have a little bit of a horror vibe, because it always does. And I also felt it had more of a Jurassic Park kind of vibe to it as well. Where I think the orange, less so. Plus orange and blue is quite a nice colour combination, so. There you go, lighting up the waterfall, lighting up the general area. Got the nest there. And I think that might be just about it. Although I realised as soon as I lit up this area that, oh, it needs more rocks. It used to autoplay, and that time it didn't. Anyways. Yeah, apologies about the quality, but now we can hop in game. Lovely 1080p, and we'll add a few more cassowaries, and we'll spend a little time with them. And I'll give you a quick tour. I'll see you in a sec. Okay, so let's go on a little tour to our cassowary kingdom in the daytime. There's our lovely cassowary. No flash! I want to say photography, but it's too long for the little sign. So no flash, which you can take to flash photography, or you can mean just no flashing in general, which is a sign that all zoos should have. Anyway, so like I say, you just walk through your little rainforest. Nothing particularly special about this area here. There's nothing much to it. There's the Jeep sitting over there. There's a lot of plant life. There's a lot of tall trees. The idea is just to make it feel like a dense forest, really. Nothing else to really say on it. Like a little intro, a little chill area. You know, you've just gone through the koala habitat. You need a little time to just relax and all that kind of jazz. Brought in a security camera. God knows why. Just felt like it. And you walk forward a little bit more, and you walk towards... Oh my god, camera's gone mad today. Let me just do that. You walk towards the Jurassic Park style gates. You can see it sticks out a little bit at the side, but that's fine. The red light's always there, always on, and flashing. Kind of made sure the fence kind of looks like it disappears off into the distance a little bit. You know, you don't know where it ends necessarily. This is electric fence, the girders down the side. And then the side panels... Where the hell have I gone? The side panels here are chain link. The idea was this is more meant to look like a gate rather than the same as the rest of the fence. So these two bits would fold in here and then one over the other. And it's also kind of like it is in Jurassic Park. If you think about the fences that the vehicles drive through, it's like a double barred system. You'd have another gate here at this far end, and that's kind of what it would look like. So now technically the cassowaries could come and hang out in here if they wanted to. The hope, although I can hear one, is that because this area is not that exciting for them and all the food and water's down here, that is what they'll choose to do instead. Anyways, you carry on working. You go through the fence, but it's meant to kind of not feel too different. It's still meant to be overcrowded and foliage heavy. Walk forward a little bit more. You sort of see the clearing, get a little info on your cassowaries. Oh, that's fascinating. Now I know all about cassowaries. Walk forward a little bit more. And there they are. Yeah, very cool. I haven't really seen this. Oh, look at that. Look at that. I'm just going to chill for a sec. They're terrifying, aren't they? So yeah, alright, so there's the actual main area. You can see what I mean by the floor. I actually think it looks really good this time, better than with the elephants. One of my problems, like I say, was the flooring the ground just isn't interesting if you don't use the long grass brush. It's just, there's no texture to it, there's no depth, there's no plant life. By combining lots of different things together, we've made what I think feels like quite a natural forest floor. And then it breaks up into the distance with waterfalls, double tier over there, and a little cheeky one over there, just so it's, again, looks bigger than it necessarily is. It looks like there's distance in the habitat. And of course we've got our little hatchery over here. I keep calling it a hatchery, but it's not a hatchery. What is going on here? What are you? I'm kind of surprised. Maybe they just can never get in. That does look more like it should, though, in the film, so we'll stick with that. Oh, hello. Not what I wanted. That does look more like the film, so I guess that's not a bad thing anyway. But, I mean, yeah, that's about it, folks. Cassowary Habitat, there's our little nest there. As you can see, it's a bit heavier in the foliage, lots of different shapes. Because, I mean, there's no egg shape. I have to sink shapes into the ground to make them. But the foliage stacks up a little bit around the side of them. Let's nip back over here first. Love that red. Makes me very happy. Like I said, nice and warm, inviting, and then, you know, push the horror a little bit with the red lights. Like I say, I wanted none of the orange, like, in this immediate area. Might even get rid of that one, honestly. Yeah! Just to really emphasize that red and that slight fear factor going in there. You know, it looks like a warning sign. It looks like you're entering a scary area, which is the idea. God knows why. Okay? Just that's what I like in my zoos. Leave me alone. And if we hang out over here for a little bit, you can see this side is all lit up, but I kept the lights away from the left. That lights up. This lights up the nest in warm colours, just because I think it's a nesting area. They're going to want to look after the babies and stuff like that. And then there's a few blue lights dotted around just to light up the habitat so we can actually see the animals. And then this area is quite heavily lit. There's a... Oh, hello. Who have we got over here? Are you D&D again? No, it's Lutana. Lutana's on the walks. She's going to come check herself out. She's posing for the painting. You're not allowed to leave, okay? Oh! Oh, Lutana's on the move. Da 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 da. They are huge, aren't they? I just want to show you what I mean by the feet. Can I find one? Come here! Come here! What a day, Shah! What a day, Shah! Where are you going? Hey, can you get out? No. Why would you want to hang out over here? Oh, they've put the food over here. That would be why. Where's my Suki? Look, there's a feeder right here. The theory was, you know, put the feeder right here and they'll all come and eat over here by the path. You can see them. I need to do something about this. I haven't bothered decorating this because you're never going to see it anyway, but now we are seeing it, so shows what I know. Who have we got? We've got Lutana, Nowalingu, and Eluka. Where's D? Can't remember their name anymore. You hear them from miles away. They're so loud. Look at the feet, though. The feet. This is exactly what I mean. The feet are proper dinosaur-y looking feet. You'd see them on a rabbit and you're like, yeah, okay. And it makes sense, of course. Cassowaries are dinosaurs. But you know what I mean. If you look at a sparrow, you don't look at a sparrow and think, well, it looks like a dinosaur. You look at this and you're like, yep, dinosaur. Well done, D&D. Oh. They're so weird. I love them so much. But the idea is you'd walk past here and, you know, they'd eat right there with the waterfall in the distance and the little raptor thing there and get the whole kind of vibe of the whole thing in one go. There you go, folks. Cassowary Kingdom. Right. Lovely stuff. What are you doing? They are so good. They are so beautiful. They're my favourite animal in the entire game. How could they not be? They're stunning. The colours, the textures. I mean, look at the crest. It's incredible. They're so good. It's actually nuts. I remarked on this when they actually came out. They are incredible. Just look at it. Are you looking? Right, anyways, we're going to end it there. Thank you so much for joining me for Cassowary Kingdom, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoyed this video, please do hit the like button and comment down below. Remember to subscribe for more Planet Zoo, and of course, there's a playlist link down below as well for the Australia pack. The idea was to do 2 videos a week on this, sometimes there'll be 1. I just want to make sure we keep it going. But last week was surprisingly busy just because Jurassic World Evolution had its whole mod breakthrough kind of shebang, so that took up more time than expected. From me and the Yindy, I'll see you next time. Cheers much love as always, bye bye.